Chapter 35. Man, I hate my son. A real arrogant jerkwad, nothing like his dad. I did not know I could move so fast. Not as Lester Papadopoulos, anyway. I bounded across the lake until I reached Meg's side. I tried desperately to shoo away the bees, but the wisps of darkness swarmed her, flying into her mouth, nose, and ears, even into her tear ducts. As a god of medicine, I would have found that fascinating if I hadn't been so repulsed. "Trophonius, stop it!" I pleaded. "This is not my doing," said the spirit. "Your friend opened her mind to the Dark Oracle. She asked questions. Now she's receiving the answers." "She asked no questions!" "Oh, but she did. Mostly about you, Father. What'll happen to you? Where must you go? How can she help you? These worries are foremost in her mind. Such misplaced loyalty." Meg began to thrash. I turned her onto her side as one should do for someone after they have a seizure. I racked my brain. What else? Remove sharp objects from her environment? All the snakes were gone. Good. Not much I could do about the bees. Her skin was cold, but I had nothing warm and dry to cover her with. Her usual scent, that faint, inexplicable smell of apples, had turned dank as mildew. The rhinestones in her glasses were completely dark, the lenses white with condensation. "Meg," I said, "stay with me. Concentrate on my voice." She muttered incoherently. With a twinge of panic, I realized that if she gave me a direct order in her delirious state, even something as simple as "leave me alone" or "go away," I would be compelled to obey. I had to find a way to anchor her mind, to shield her from the worst of the dark visions. That was difficult when my own mind was still a little fuzzy, and not completely trustworthy. I muttered some healing chants, old curative tunes I hadn't used in centuries. Before antibiotics, before aspirin, before even sterile bandages, we had songs. I was the god of both music and healing for a reason. One should never underestimate the healing power of music. Meg's breathing steadied, but the shadowy swarm still enveloped her, attracted to her fears and doubts like bees to pollen. "Ahem," Trophonius said. "So about this favor you promised." "Shut up!" I snapped. In her fever, Meg murmured, "Shut up!" I chose to take this as an echo, not an order, aimed at Trophonius rather than me. Thankfully, my vocal cords agreed. I sang to Meg about her mother Demeter, the goddess who could heal the entire earth after drought, fire, or flood. I sang of Demeter's mercy and kindness, the way she had made the prince Triptolemus into a god because of his good deeds, the way she had nursed the baby boy Demophon for 3 nights, attempting to make him immortal, the way she had blessed the cereal makers of modern times, flooding the world with a bounty of Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, and Count Chocula. Truly, she was a goddess of infinite benevolence. "You know she loves you," I promised, cradling Meg's head in my lap. "She loves all her children. Look at how much she cherished Persephone, even though that girl... Well, she makes your table manners look positively refined. No offense." I realized I wasn't even singing anymore. I was rambling, trying to drive off Meg's fears with a friendly voice. "Once," I continued, "Demeter married this minor harvest god, Carmenor? You've probably never heard of him. No one had. He was this local deity in Crete. Rude, backward, poorly dressed. But, oh, they loved each other. They had this son, the ugliest boy you ever saw. Had no redeeming qualities. He looked like a pig. Everyone said so. He even had a horrible name. Eubuleus. It sounds like Ebola, I know, but Demeter turned everyone's criticisms around. She made Eubuleus the god of swineherds. I only say this because... Well, you never know, Meg. Demeter has plans for you. I'm sure of it. You can't die on me, you see. You have too much good to look forward to. Demeter might make you the minor goddess of cute little piglets." I couldn't tell if she was hearing me. Her eyes shifted under closed lids as if she'd entered REM sleep. She wasn't twitching and thrashing quite as much. Or was that my imagination? I was shaking from cold and fear so much myself that it was hard to be sure. Trophonius made a sound like a steam valve opening. "She's just fallen into a deeper trance. That's not necessarily a good sign. She could still die." I kept my back to him. "Meg, don't listen to Trophonius. He's all about fear and pain. He's just trying to make us lose hope." "Hope," said the spirit. "Interesting word. I had hope once. That my father might act like a father. I got over it after a few centuries of being dead." "Don't blame me for you robbing the king's treasury," I snarled. "You're here because you messed up. I prayed to you. Or perhaps you didn't pray for the right thing at the right time," I yelled. "Pray for wisdom before you do something stupid. Don't pray for me to bail you out after you follow your worst instincts." The bees swirled around me and buzzed angrily, but they did me no harm. I refused to offer them any fear to feed on. All that mattered now was staying positive, staying anchored for Meg's sake. "I'm here." I brushed the wet hair from her forehead. You're not alone. She whimpered in her trance. The rose died. I felt as if a water moccasin had wriggled into my chest and was biting my heart, one artery at a time. Meg, a flower is only part of the plant. Flowers grow back. You have deep roots. You have strong stems. Your face is green. I turned to Trophonius in alarm. Why is her face green? Interesting. He sounded anything but interested. Perhaps she's dying. He tilted his head as if listening to something in the distance. Ah. They're here waiting for you. What? Who? The Emperor's servants. Blemier. Trophonius gestured to the far side of the lake. An underwater tunnel just there. It leads to the rest of the cavern system, the part known to mortals. The Blemier have learned better than to come into this chamber, but they're waiting for you on the other end. That's the only way you can escape. Well, then we will. Doubtful, said Trophonius. Even if your young friend survives, the Blemier are preparing explosives. What? Ocomet has probably told them to use the explosives only as a last resort. He likes having me as his personal fortune teller. He sends his men in here from time to time, pulls them out half dead and insane, gets free glimpses of the future. What does he care? But he'd rather destroy this oracle than allow you to escape alive. I was too dumbfounded to respond. Trophonius let loose another harsh peal of laughter. Don't look so down, Apollo. On the bright side, it won't matter if Meg dies here, because she's gonna die anyway. Look, she's frothing at the mouth now. This is always the most interesting part. Meg was indeed gurgling white foam. In my expert medical opinion, that was rarely a good sign. I took her face between my hands. Meg, listen to me. The darkness whirled around her, making my skin tingle. I'm here. I'm Apollo, god of healing. You will not die on me. Meg didn't take orders well. I knew this. She twitched and foamed, coughing up random words like horse, crossword, cloven, roots. Also not a great sign, medically speaking. My singing hadn't worked. Stern language had not worked. There was only one other remedy I could think of, an ancient technique for drawing out poison and evil spirits. The practice was no longer endorsed by most medical associations, but I remembered the limerick from the Grove of Dodona. The line I had lost the most sleep over was forced death and madness to swallow. Here we were. I knelt over Meg's face, as I used to do when I taught mouth-to-mouth resuscitation as part of first aid training at Camp Jupiter. Those silly Roman demigods were always drowning. I'm sorry about this. I pinched Meg's nose and clamped my mouth over hers. A slimy, unpleasant sensation, much like what I imagined Poseidon experienced when he realized he was kissing the Gorgon Medusa. I could not be deterred. Instead of exhaling, I inhaled, sucking the darkness from Meg's lungs. Perhaps at some point in your life you've gotten water up your nose. Imagine that feeling, except with bee venom and acid instead of water. The pain almost made me black out. A noxious cloud of horror flooding through my sinuses, down my throat and into my chest. I felt ghostly bees ricocheting through my respiratory system, trying to sting their way out. I held my breath, determined to keep as much of the darkness away from Meg for as long as I could. I would share this burden with her, even if it killed me. My mind slid sideways into Meg's own memories. I was a frightened little girl, trembling on the steps of the library, staring down at the body of my murdered father. The rose he had given me was crushed and dead. Its petals were scattered across the wounds the beast had made in his belly. The beast had done this, I had no doubt. Nero had warned me again and again. Daddy had promised me the rose would never die. I would never have to worry about thorns. He said the flower was a gift from my mother, a lady I'd never met. But the rose was dead. Daddy was dead. My life was nothing but thorns. Nero put his hand on my shoulder. I'm so sorry, Meg. His eyes were sad, but his voice was tinged with disappointment. This only proved what I already suspected. Daddy's death was my fault. I should have been a better daughter. I should have trained harder, minded my manners, not objected when Nero told me to fight the larger children, or the animals I didn't want to kill. I had upset the beast. I sobbed, hating myself. Nero hugged me. I buried my face in his purple clothes, his sickly sweet cologne, not like flowers, but like old, desiccated potpourri in a nursing home. I wasn't sure how I even knew that smell, but it brought back a half-remembered feeling of helplessness and terror. Nero was all I had. I didn't get real flowers, a real father, a real mother. I wasn't worthy of that. I had to cling to what I had. Then our minds commingled. Meg and I plunged into primordial chaos, the miasma from which the fates wove the future, making destiny out of randomness. No one's mind should be exposed to such power. Even as a god, I feared to go too near the boundaries of chaos. It was the same sort of danger mortals risked when they asked to see a god's true form. A burning, terrible pyre of pure possibility. Seeing such a thing could vaporize humans, turn them into salt or dust. I shielded Meg from the miasma as best I could, wrapping my mind around hers in a sort of embrace, but we both heard the piercing voices. "Swift white horse," they whispered. "The crossword speaker. Lands of scorching death." And more. Lines spoken too fast, overlapping too much to make sense of. My eyes began to bake. The bees consumed my lungs. Still, I held my breath. I saw a misty river in the distance, the Styx itself. The dark goddess beckoned me from the shore, inviting me to cross. I would be immortal again, if only in the way human souls were immortal after death. I could pass into the fields of punishment. Didn't I deserve to be punished for my many crimes? Unfortunately, Meg felt the same way. Guilt weighed her down. She didn't believe she deserved to survive. What saved us was a simultaneous thought. I cannot give up. Apollo/Meg needs me. I endured for another moment, then two. At last I could stand it no more. I exhaled, expelling the poison of the prophecy. Gasping for fresh air, I collapsed next to Meg on the cold, wet stone. Slowly the world returned to a solid state. The voices were gone. The cloud of ghostly bees had vanished. I rose to my elbows. I pressed my fingers against Meg's neck. Her pulse pattered, thready and weak, but she was not dead. "Thank the three fates," I murmured. For once I actually meant it. If Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos had been in front of me right then, I would have kissed their woody noses. On his island, Trophonius sighed. "Oh well. The girl might still be insane for the rest of her life. That's still some consolation." I glared at my deceased son. "Some consolation?" "Yes." He tilted his ethereal head, listening again. "You'd best hurry. You'll have to carry the girl through the underwater tunnel, so I suppose you might both drown. Or the Blemier might kill you at the other end. But if not, I want that favor." I laughed. After my plunge into chaos, it wasn't a pretty sound. "You expect a favor? For attacking a defenseless girl?" "For giving you your prophecy," Trophonius corrected. "It's yours, assuming you can extract it from the girl on the throne of memory. Now my favor, as you promised. Destroy this cave." I had to admit, I'd just come back from the miasma of pure prophecy, and I still didn't see that request coming. "Say what now?" "This location's too exposed," said Trophonius. "Your allies at the way station will never be able to defend it from the triumvirate. The emperors will just keep attacking. I do not wish to be used by Commodus anymore. Better that the oracle's destroyed." I wondered if Zeus would agree. I'd been operating under the assumption that my father wanted me to restore all the ancient oracles before I could regain my godhood. I wasn't sure if destroying the cavern of Trophonius would be an acceptable plan B. Then again, if Zeus wanted things done a certain way, he should have given me instructions in writing. "But, Trophonius, what'll happen to you?" Trophonius shrugged. "Perhaps my oracle will reappear somewhere else in a few centuries, under better circumstances, in a more secure location. Maybe that'll give you time to be a nicer father." He was definitely making it easier to consider his request. "How do I destroy this place?" "I may have mentioned the Blemier with explosives in the next cave. If they don't use them, you must." "And Agamethus? Will he disappear as well?" Dim flashes of light erupted from within the spirit's form. "Perhaps sadness?" "Eventually," said Trophonius. Tell him I love him. And I'm sorry this has been our fate. That's more than I ever got from you." His swirling column of darkness began to unspool. "Wait!" I yelled. "What about Georgina? Where did Agamethus find her? Is she my child?" The laughter of Trophonius echoed weakly through the cavern. "Ah, yes. Consider that mystery my last gift to you, father. I hope it drives you insane." Then he was gone. For a moment I sat on the ledge, stunned and devastated. I didn't feel physically hurt, but I realized it was possible to suffer 1,000 bites in the snake pit, even if none of the vipers came near you. There were other kinds of poison. The cave rumbled, sending ripples across the lake. I didn't know what that meant, but we couldn't stay here. I lifted Meg in my arms and waded into the water.